Forum on China's high-tech repression and freedom of religion. So welcome you all. And we hope those who had attended yesterday's session had enjoyed the first two sessions of the forum, China's high-tech, the technology and the future of human rights. And the second session was on high-tech repression of people of faith in China. And those who are here and attending, able to attend the session for today only, we warmly welcome you all. Okay. So may I request and invite the moderator of the third session, Beijing Export of Surveillance Technology, my colleague, Ms. Tile Chugila, the special appointee for the Tibet Bureau here in Geneva, and the panelist, Tenzin Dalala, Digital and Chinese Cybersecurity Research Fellow, Tibet Policy Institute, Dr. Chen Yan Cheng, Chairman of the Board of New School for Democracy and Taipei Municipal Consultant, and Colonel retired Vinayak Bhatt, Satellite Imagery Analyst. Oh, thank you so much, and Ms. Tilila, now the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candela. Ladies and gentlemen, Tash Dele, bonjour, and a very warm good morning to all, and also to the viewers of the live stream happening through the Tibet Online, Tibettv Online. As Candela just briefly said, yesterday was the first day of the 2019 Geneva Forum, China's high-tech repression and freedom of religion. And it was a very, very interesting and insightful session which highlighted the human rights violations that are happening by the usage, or should I say the abuse of technology by China. And today I have the honor of moderating this esteemed panel on the theme of Beijing's export of surveillance technology. Now, interestingly, China is not only manufacturing and using the technology against the vulnerable people, especially the so-called ethnic minorities, including Tibetans, Uyghurs, Southern Mongolians, and many others. It is also exporting these surveillance tools and technology to other countries. It is very important to note that China has once again been ranked as the worst abuser of internet freedom by the Freedom House in its Freedom on the Net 2019 report. Now, before we start the session, I just have three important points to highlight. The first one being that if you think these surveillance and the human rights abuses are happening in some remote place of China, the names of which you have never heard, I think you have to think again, because you are being watched. It is very interesting to note that China has been exporting this technology, the surveillance technology, to many of the countries, and those countries might be the countries that you come from, that you belong to. Secondly, it's only going to get worse from here. Because, one, the Belt and Road Initiative, it is nothing but a way to get into your homes and to watch you. It's very, should I say, worrisome to read a very recent report by Christopher Balding, an associate professor, who said, and in fact proved the links of the Chinese military to the Huawei company. He went through many of these CVs and saw, I think there were around 14 to 20 CVs that he went through, and saw that these military officers were holding important positions in this company. And this company is going to enter your country. On the brighter side, because I don't want to start the session with two dooming messages, The Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression and Opinion, in its latest report titled Surveillance and Human Rights, has said that the states should come forward and impose a moratorium on the export of these so-called surveillance technology. And one of the major recommendations by this special rapporteur is that the states should join the non-binding Wassenaar Agreement or arrangement on export controls for conventional arms and dual-use goods and technologies. Now, as this, the name of the agreement or the arrangement states, it is a non-binding. There are few countries which have entered into this arrangement, and very, very interestingly, China is definitely not a member of this arrangement. So with these three important points to be highlighted, I would like to start the session. Our first speaker of the session, a dear colleague, Mr. Tenzin Dala. Please permit me to read out his brief biography. He is a research fellow at the Tibet Policy Institute of the Central Tibetan Administration. He received his MPhil degree in journalism and communication from the University of Madras in 2014. His current field of research is digital and Chinese cybersecurity policy. His other research interests include digital freedom, Chinese cybersecurity, surveillance, and censorship policies. He has presented papers at various national and international forums and has contributed commentaries to various prestigious platforms. Prior to joining the TPI, he worked as a freelance journalist, contributing mainly through photography and videos for a documentary film. And please let me add that he is, in fact, one of the most encouraging researcher and upcoming researcher that we have at TPI. Please, Mr. Dalai, it's your floor.
Thank you, Chugila, for the wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here. Today I'm going to talk about Beijing's export of surveillance technology. So recently, while I'm going through this kind of research, many things has happened, and I decided to write a paper on that particular topic. So what I found is that imagine yourself that how would you feel if your every move and decisions were tracked, recorded, and ranked. Nobody really wants camera to follow them everywhere they go. Welcome to China, where the Chinese government is experimenting a new system of surveillance as part of its overt and covert expansion of surveillance and interventions. This surveillance system is increasingly showing up all around the world. So my research is based on these 6 topics. So subcategories are based on China's export of surveillance technologies. China is widely expanding its surveillance network to strengthen and maintain vigilance of its entire populace by tracking people's movement through cell phones and monitoring contents of telephonic conversation and emails. Attempt by the government to transform the internet into a system of surveillance and censorship represent a threat to media freedom and democracy at large. This paper examined the alarming rate of China's export of surveillance technology, widespread harms this manufacture has caused, and its implications. Through this paper, I intend to contribute a new understanding of the motive of China's export surveillance technology and bringing attention particularly emphasized on rapid surveillance investment in Tibet. So it's crystal clear that among the internet users around the world, China always ranked the world's largest internet users. Attempt by the government to transform the internet into a system of surveillance and censorship represent a fundamental threat to media freedom. As March of 2019, China had 839 million internet users, which it shows the penetration rate of internet users in China is 59%. So if we go through the cities in China, They are under the heavy CCTV surveillance in the world, according to a new analysis by the Comparatech, which provide information for research and Comparatech. And it shows that China today has around 200 million CC cameras in use, a figure which will rise 213% by 2022, which will increase to 626. It will project that in 2022, one CC camera per 2 person. So this kind of surveillance will happen inside China at 22. If you go, sorry. Oh, can you please stop? Another striking corroboration of China's sophisticated surveillance system in the widespread use of highly advanced cameras with artificial intelligence, which have facial recognition system. If you go through this graph, we can clearly see that among the 10 most surveillance cities around the world, 8 comes by China. 8 cities in China are the most surveillance cities in the world, including Chongqing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Tianjin, Jinan, Wuhan, Guangzhou, Beijing. So most of these cities are also of strategic importance to China. So since Xi Jinping came into power, so he tried to tighten his power grip on technology and surveillance. He called for standing cooperation with the countries along the Belt and Road initiatives. And he's talking about the internet infrastructure, digital economy to build a digital Silk Road on 21st century. So he has implemented a new strategies, inventing like China's new cybersecurity law, launch of cyberspace administration of China, and social critic system. The China cybersecurity law, which was passed on 2016 November 7, has been implemented in 1st June of 2017. So this widely aims to tighten the censorship, but will end up curbing competitions among Chinese cyber administrations. So basically, the law also serves as a barrier to global infrastructures who want to operate inside China. They want to ask for Chinese authorities to put their agenda and their manuscript to a local server, which is run by the Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba. So recently, CCP seeks to strengthen its internet monitoring by replacing the new cybersecurity czar. So Wang was replaced by Zhu Rongjing. So Xi Jinping introduced the cybersecurity cyber administration of China in 2014. From 2014 till 2019, 4 cyber czars has been constantly changed. So it shows that Wang Yingzhong has been expert in digital technologies. So it shows that they are going to more tighten and censorship for the surveillance of technologies. For the first time, Communist China, the key motive for gathering, analyzing, and evaluating data is to preempt and undercover the threat of social and political stability of its iron grip on China. It is indeed for the first time that a government is employing a highly advanced technology to advance internet surveillance and censorship to maintain the stability rule of China. China uses surveillance technology to spy on human rights defenders, dissidents, lawyers, deny freedom of speech, and subvert anti-communist party campaigns. These abuse of technology fundamentally undermine democracy and threaten human rights. Regarding the social critic system, the point system in which citizens get incentive with their lawfulness, integrity, and trustworthiness with real-time impacts on citizens can and cannot do. Perks like good behavior could lead to a privilege of faster internet connection, travel ticket booking convenience in flight and trains, and even concession advance deposit for renting cars and booking hotels. Having a low social credit scores could mean restriction on traveling, refusal of passport, difficulty in getting employment, and being publicly shamed among others. China's National Public Credit Information Centers prepared that it has cancelled airline tickets of 17.5 million people due to their unproductive scores, and 5.5 million were barred from booking train tickets in 2008 because of low social credit systems. So even some of the Uyghur peoples were also put behind a concentration camp because of having a low social credit systems. China's technological power grip around the world. For the first time, Communist Party of China's key motive behind for gathering, analyzing, and evaluating data is to preempt and undergo many threats. So in China, artificial systems directly abuse domestic power, control, and surveillance, helping internal security force process massive amount of information, including social media posts, text message, voice message, email, and phone calls more effectively and efficiently. This can easily identify social trends and track individuals who might threaten to regions based on the information uncovered by these systems. For instance, Chinese government continues to use surveillance systems during the wide-scale crackdowns in ethnic minority regions. According to the People's Daily, the party-owned largest newspaper group in China, the Chinese capital of Beijing is now completely covered by surveillance cameras that watch over every corner of Beijing's citizens. Authoritarian governments across globes are acquiring state-of-art technology to repress dissident at rapid pace for construction of smart cities in Pakistan, Philippines, and Kenya. Chinese companies, including Huawei and ZTE, are involved in supplying expensive built-in internet-connected cameras and provide 24/7 intelligent security surveillance with data analyze and detect crime and manage traffics. So China's export of surveillance technology began in 2008 during the Beijing's Olympic, where it marketed its surveillance mechanism and solutions. Prior to Olympic, 300,000 new cameras were installed in the capital. China then invited many foreign officials to observe the effectiveness of its new authoritarian technologies, advanced tools. Since then, the party has exported its solutions to many countries with severe human rights record, including, but not limited to, Ecuador, Venezuela, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Kenya, Iran, and Zimbabwe. China's collaboration with authoritarian governments across the globe to build a large surveillance system has given rise to global threat and freedom of privacy and speech. This is just an example of the surveillance system that run in Ecuador. Those are created by China. So with China's help, Ecuador now has the new surveillance systems, ECU 911, meant to expand automatic policing and reduce crime rate. This $200 million deal was jointly signed by China's state-controlled CEIEC and Huawei, and funded by Chinese loans in exchange with Ecuador's providing them with its principal exploit all. Ecuador's surveillance systems were not only made in China, but also installed by Chinese companies and workers. Chinese even trained the Ecuadors to how to use these surveillance technologies. China's export of surveillance technology is a slow strength and capacity to the world. It represents the country's ability to compete with established power, notably the US, in important sectors, reducing dependence and promoting self-reliance. This seriousness of providing security threats from Chinese companies is evident from the US notable restrictions or outright prohibitions of companies such as Huawei. This US also encouraged its allies to do the same. Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, and US and Canada have all adopted measures to restrict the use of Huawei device and Chinese infrastructure. The Iron Curtain of Tibetans in Tibet in Chinese have been shut for long term, and the entire region is off limit for free and independent visit of international journalists, media, advocates, researchers, and government civil society representatives. This highly representative situation inside Tibet makes it difficult to understand the scope of digital surveillance in the region. Over the years, China's surveillance system in Tibet has been growing and evolving at the unprecedented scale. The evidence of manned and unmanned checkpoints artificial intelligence, CCTV camera networks, and re-education centers grab the national security and have added another layer of control to already extreme control and operates environment in Tibet. Furthermore, the CCP is constantly upgrading its Great Firewall of China to monitor and limit online and offline traffic by creating its own internet and limiting access to traditional web. Chinese authorities in Tibet are offering large cash reward to informants to beat or stamp out online subversive activities, curbing free flow of information and dissemination of information. According to a notice issued on February 28 by Government Department of so-called Tibet Autonomous Region, information leading to arrest of social media users deemed disloyal to China can fish to 300,000 yuan, equivalent to $42,582. People sharing political content or commentary deemed sensitive, they face arrest and criminal injustice. Surveillance in Tibet and Xinjiang have been widely known as Orwellian. In addition to the traditional system, surveillance. So this is just an example of the China's modern surveillance system in Tibet. So, the picture which shows that prayer wheel hanging on the day, it is just used for a street light normally, but in lieu of that, they use a CC camera surveillance every corner of Bargo and Tibet Autonomous Region. So these cameras are rapid number in race. So the camera is just a disguise, showing just a prayer wheel hanging on up there using as a street light, but in reality they use it for other purpose. New digital surveillance efforts include mandatory collection of DNA samples, Wi-Fi networks monitoring, and widespread implementation of facial and voice recognition to all connected and integrated data analysis platforms. According to Wall Street Journal study of police department documents from across China, the Chinese authorities plan to double their current DNA trove to 100 million records by 2020. DNA samplings for Tibetans on the Tibetan plateau is widespread under the use of mandatory medical checkups aimed to controlling the movement of Tibetan people and further restrict their freedom. I recently interviewed a new arrival from Tibet. He confirmed that at the beginning of July 2013, Tibetans in cities and villages are being asked to undergo free medical checkup and blood samples has been controlled. So he said that there is a political agenda behind for collecting and giving a free medical care, unlike usual. One of my colleagues who is working at Tibet Policy, he also believes that China might extend its profiling of DNA samples to even foreign tourists, including Tibetans from India and Western countries visiting Tibet. Also, CCP's security spending has increased exponentially since 2008. German-based researcher Anderson has reported that TAR has the higher per capita domestic security expenditures of all provinces and regions. In 2016, per capita domestic security expense in Xinjiang province, Tibetan regions were nearly 3 times higher than Xinjiang province as a whole. The researcher further concerns China's intentional launch of Huawei 5G networks, which will make it easier to deploy sensors and enable quick transfers of high volumes of data and real-time analysis. Companies facilitating digital surveillance in Tibet include Alibaba search engines, Baidu chat app operator Tencent Holdings, voice recognition, flight deck, facial recognition system, SenseTime. State subsidize these technologies to establish inside Tibet. To invest and employ their latest technologies, company operating in Tibet enjoys a highly reduced tax rate of 9% as compared to the standard corporate tax rate 25% for the rest of China. So in gist, the non-transparent and unchecked export and adoption of China's highly advanced technology to foreign markets represent a severe intelligence and security threats, especially when integrated directly to national security and surveillance apparatus. China has successfully integrated direct to national securities, safety, security, and dissident and activists all around the world and strengthened rough and democratic regimes with export of surveillance technologies. Surveillance information stream can be realistically used in two ways: as target micro-informant to gain leverage on important target and as a means to gather and employ big data. This use of which is essentially endless in the sense there is little no transparency nor accountability to impose very high security threat. Exporting the surveillance model is also a strategic move by CCP to further test its models, apply its variable context, and gather additional data and intelligence. The party gains a direct access into partner state information streams, advances information about market business opportunities, important actors, extras. And inside Tibet, over the last decade, nets in the sky and traps on the ground have further suppressed the fundamental freedom of expression, movement, and assembly. New and highly advanced technologies have given unrestricted and illicit power to state security apparatus to intensify and escalate mass surveillance. Checkpoints with smart surveillance and facial recognitions are present in cities and crossing between neighboring district and province. Tibetans inside their homes are tracked through their phones, and they step outside, surveillance and facial recognition technologies follow them whenever they go. This is reality of today's Tibet, and if the free world is unwilling to restrict the import of China's technology, this could be your tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jalala, for that wonderful presentation. I think it's very, very appalling to know, as you highlighted, that the Beijing Olympics, which Olympics in itself stands for many important human values, was used as a market tool or a base for marketing the technology and the surveillance system. And also, as you highlighted, that the Tibetans, the Chinese, the so-called ethnic minorities are being tracked and watched 24/7. You also highlighted, it brings me a lot of worry that free medical checkups are being used as a guise to collect the DNA of the Tibetans and the innocent ethnic minorities. And now the problem has come where the tourists, the Western tourists, the Tibetan tourists who are going to visit Tibet and many other places in China, their DNA samples are also being monitored and collected. And also, I think it was very, very crucial what you pointed out, that what has happened in Tibet can be the reality of many of the countries that are importing these surveillance technology. Thank you so much, Dala. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Chen Yan Cheng, who is the chairman of the board of New School for Democracy and Taipei Municipal Consultant. He holds a PhD in law from the Graduate Institute of National Development, National Taiwan University, a bachelor's in law from Suzhou University, and master's degree from Sun Yat-sen Memorial Graduate Institute of Interdisciplinary Studies, National Chengchi University. Dr. Cheng was an associate professor at Tsinghua University and also served as a researcher of promoting Transitional Justice Commission. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you for Pastor Chung and the Tibet Friends invitation. It's my great honor to present my speech here. The topic of my speech is subduing the enemy without fighting, rather infiltration and surveillance in Taiwan. I want to introduce Taiwan's experience about how to resist against China's electronic infiltration. this is Taiwan and China's the map. The red island is Taiwan. So and the flag, the right side is Taiwan's national flag. The left is 5 stars of China flag. So Taiwan and China indeed is a different country. We have a different sovereignty, but China claim Taiwan is a part of China. So China boycott Taiwan's sovereignty status in the international community. So, for example, Taiwan is not a member of United Nations. So Taiwan's official cannot enter into the land of United Nations. So because I am not official, I am a citizen, so I can go to I can enter into the United Nations freely. And China want to apply one country, two system, the legal framework on Taiwan. He wants Taiwan as Hong Kong, the same legal status. That means Taiwan become a autonomy area under China's administration. So how to achieve the goal? The key method is the Taiwan's people's their confidence, their loyalty to Taiwan's country. So China and Taiwan's the campaign is a ideological struggle. So I try to analyze the China how to subdue Taiwan by the SWOT framework. The strength for China, Taiwan is I described undefended open society. Taiwan indeed is an open society. We have no published act. We have no cyber security law. We have no film or drama review system. Taiwan is very very open and very free. In some sense, it is undefended for everything. But weakness for China, Taiwan is an anti-communist society because under Kuomintang authoritarian rule, Kuomintang was anti-communist regime. So we now Taiwanese has the anti-communist legacy in most Taiwanese mind. But the opportunities for China is the business interest. because Taiwan and China, we have the same language, same culture. So Taiwanese businessmen or Taiwanese business, they are easy to enter into China's markets. And they can use China's human resource and China's natural resource to produce everything and export to the world worldwide. So Taiwan and China has a very deep economic connection. So the business interest is an opportunity for China government to buy Taiwan. But the threat for China is Taiwan's people. They has the independent personality consciousness from the individual to every ethnic people and to all the Taiwan people. So next year January, we will hold a popular election to elect Taiwan's president and congressman. So I try to analyze the strategies for China to how to subdue Taiwan. One is the United Front work. United Front work in our general speaking language or terms means public relationship. China government and the communists, they make many public relationship and the contest in Taiwan's people. So many, I think almost everyone, Taiwan's, for example, Taiwan's scholar or Taiwan students, they have many opportunities to visit China by China government's reception for very cheap fees. The second is external propaganda. You want to, its goal is to want to brainwashing Taiwan's people's ideology and the sharp point of view, what point of view, the unity, the China unity, the consciousness. And the third is infiltration and surveillance through the approach, for example, organization, action, artificial intelligence. I will explain. In the United Front work, China government they have a very clear map on Taiwan. They indicate 10 target groups in Taiwan for their United Front work. So I describe it as a Taiwan and China civil wars or international wars ground battle. One is grassroots village to everyone village. everyone village is his leader. Everyone has the opportunity to receive to China for traveling. The second is the youth and the students. The third, Chinese sports. Chinese sports, they has the freedom to form their society, their association, and even they can protest Taiwan's government policy towards China on the street. The fourth, the indigenous people. Because indigenous people, generally, their economic is more poor than average Taiwanese. So, China government they can use the money interest to affect the indigenous people. The fifth are pro-China political parties and political groups. Because Taiwan is the constitution protect Taiwanese people's freedom to collect political parties. So in Taiwan, there are many parties. They claim not only unity, unification with China, even they claim the communism or socialism. And the sixth is religious temples, because Taiwan there are very many temples, different religions. So many temples they have no money. So China government can donate the temple. And the fellow villagers, because for example, I was received to China for traveling, and I can introduce my neighbor or my relative to China. And the next is farmers and the fishers. Farmers and the fishers. Because Taiwan now is an industrial state, so agriculture industry is they have to find a new direction to develop. So China government give them the opportunities. And the 10th is a retired general. Because in Taiwan's law, according to Taiwan law, if the general you retired, you have no any duty for the country. So the general, when they retired, they are invited by China's army for many exchange activities. For example, play golf or visiting or academic conference, even the China's national ceremony. The part of external propaganda, I think there are at least three mechanics. The first is control of media and the new media by investment. China's government or China government relational business, they invested Taiwan's corporation, and it can control the manager, the manager, and the editing direction. So investment, and the second editing review. For example, the Taiwan China Times, the newspaper, is a popular newspaper in Taiwan. As I know, there every day's newspaper, the most news, the China government asked them to fax to Beijing for China government's review every day. So China government can through control Taiwan's media, Taiwan's mass media, and they think they can to form to affect Taiwan people's thinking. So many media it will self-censorship. And the second, the method is the content farm. For example, 15-cent party, net army business. The content farm, the content is for China rising and the Taiwan decline by fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. Because the content farm, they supply the fake content on the internet, on the cyber. If the mass media report, in a short time, it will form the Taiwan people's imagination. Is it true or is it false? In the short time, he cannot defer. So he can confuse Taiwanese people's thinking. The third is infiltration and surveillance by organization, effect, and control. For example, mainland Taiwanese business, for example, Foxconn, Wang, China government give them financial subsidies. This business, they are very rich, but China government still give them financial subsidies. And the second is private university, because private university, they need students. They need students' tuition fees. The third, mass media. For example, Wang's China Times, the TVBS, and the radio station by advertisement or any other. Then is the political party. For example, Kuomintang, New Party, Unity Promotion Party, and the underworld organization, mafia, Bamboo Union, they received the communists the money, temple, and the civil society through the social media, content farm, and to affect the fans group. The second method is the action indication. For some speak topics, encourage Taiwan's people or Taiwan's some group to held the street parade or protest against the Taiwan government. The second, keep someone under surveillance. Keep someone, maybe someone's, for example, almost Taiwan's scholars, I believe, their internet, their email is almost under China's government's watch. The first is espionage and detective. Espionage maybe the China's the official, but detective is business contract by business contract. They can hire Taiwan locals detective to watch Taiwan people or Hong Kong's guest in Taiwan. And the final is the special report, because they can provide some money and through the contract for Taiwan scholar to write some special report for Beijing government or their think tank. And the final is a monitor. For example, by facial recognition, cyber money through the email account, the smartphone. So how can we do? I try to provide some suggestion. The first is in Taiwan, we need a law or act about foreign agent registration. Because it can let Taiwan people know who provide the news, who encourage some public issue, and then you can to decide if you want to believe or not to believe. The second is the prohibition of Chinese surveillance in government and the public sectors, because Chinese goods are very cheap. So in Taiwan government, many public sector include university. They buy surveillance from China, and recently many people they know. Maybe in the China's schools they have the watch system, and in the university or school education, we have to improve the media literacy education, and in the civil society now we erect a fact check and the news error correction system, and the cyber security. I think the government should see the cyber security as national defense. And the final, I think is very important, is we should to erect international guidelines on surveillance abuse. Because in Taiwan, although Taiwan is an open society, but if in the international community there is an international guideline, it will let Taiwan people know in the open society cannot agree, cannot permit they whom they don't respect the freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. your presentation, especially on saying that China's attempt on converting Taiwan into an Hong Kong, and we all know what is happening in Hong Kong, was very insightful, especially your study on the various strategies that China is using to control Taiwan, be it the United Front work or the external propaganda by which, spreading fake news and disinformation, and also the infiltration and surveillance level, going to an extent of using even the mafia against the Taiwanese. Thank you so much. Next, we have the presentation by Colonel Vinayak Bhatt. Permit me to read his biography. Colonel Vinayak Bhatt is a satellite imagery specialist who served in the Indian Army for over 3 decades. He obtained his Bachelor's of Science from Jawaharlal Nehru University in 1981 and also received distinction in Chinese language from the School of Foreign Languages in 1990. He has worked on satellite imagery analysis with keen interest in nuclear field, especially under nuclear cycle, nuclear weapons, and their storage facilities, and has also covered mining, milling, and calculations through satellite imagery, covering mainly China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, North Korea, Iran, Syria, and Libya extensively. He has published 150 reports and has been awarded with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card twice while in service. And please permit me to also add that I had the honor of listening to him at the Tibet Policy Institute talk on his very interesting report on the increase and rise of gulags, which are nothing but concentration camps in Tibet. Over to you, Colonel.
Thank you, Ms. Thinley. Shikyong sir, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all. So I'll be covering a little bit of religious suppression by the Chinese and how they undertake the global surveillance. This is what the Sikyong was talking yesterday about the Lama Lasso, the Vision Lake. This place is showing the post which has been created by the Chinese. And this is the lake. At the moment, in this image, it is seen as frozen. But you can see the post which has been created. It has been mainly created so that the monks cannot undertake circumambulation of that area. Neither can monks go and pray there, sit there and pray. This is the Chokargyal monastery, which is very close by. It was earlier destroyed by Chinese. And now they have constructed a small little building as the monastery in that place. This is where the lamas go, stay there, pray at the lake, and get the vision for the successors. That is not being allowed by the Chinese. With the post coming up, it is very, very clear what the Chinese intentions are. This is the sky burial location, which is on top of the Blue Mountain, which is the abode of Lamo Palden. Well, you can see the Chinese post which has been created with the communication antennas. Even there, you are being monitored very, very closely. These are the gulags. I wish our Uyghur friends were here today. This is one Haji Kamaili. This is bang in the center of the town. And a gulag is being run there. You can see the kind of wire fences which are there. These wire fences and the perimeter fence, which is very, very high. This is what tells us that a gulag, not even a labor camp, the Chinese call it re-education camps. I really wonder what they're trying to re-educate an adult of 50 years who is already educated. It is only religious subjugation and nothing else. They're trying to separate children from the parents. They are kept in separate barracks, separate prisons. You can see the wire fences are very, very clear. And the moment the US and other people reported about these wire fences, they were removed. This is one of the cemeteries in Urumqi. Well, the Chinese are not letting you rest in peace even after the death. The Islamophobia is so dangerous there that they are not allowing the cemeteries to remain there anymore. They're exhuming the remains and putting them in smaller places in the name of beautification of the area. The lower portion is after, the first one on the top is before image. Here is another cemetery which has been completely obliterated and new infrastructure has come in. The lower image half you can see, that is after. You can see the road and the malls which have come up. This is the third cemetery. A new road is about to be constructed. In Keria, the cemetery has been exhumed. Notice the area. You can see the exhumed graves just for a road to go through. The road could have just skirted the cemetery and gone. But no, the Chinese want to humiliate. These are the exhumed graves. And even after exhuming the graves, having smaller graves in particular places. This one is Koktag Cemetery in Urumqi. There again exhuming the remains from the smaller graves to further smaller graves. Even smaller, like a person was probably lying in lying position, now he is in sitting position. So that is the kind of humiliation people have to undergo. This one is the Zokhang in Lhasa. It was, everybody knows, it was burnt in last year. The reasons for the fire was not known. Well, it was rebuilt very soon. Not as soon as it was possible, but then for the Chinese, comparatively, they've constructed it sooner. But then it has a Communist Party flavor now. What do you have? Recent pictures show, you see on the top left corner, it says Vaita the Chungko Kung Tang Tang Wan Sui. So long live CPC. So that is the banner which they have put up on the Zokhang, the main monastery. We really don't know what has happened to the texts and whatever scriptures were there. Some rumors say that they have been shifted to this place called the Tibetan Buddhist Academy. It is a theological institute which has been created by China, and in 2017 they have expanded it. But what do you see? You see all the hostels are gated very badly. The monks, irrespective of their seniority, have been put in one place. Like seniors are put in with juniors, and there is no distinction. Here you can see the same gulag kind of fences, even where the scriptures and texts are kept inside a perimeter fence. This is another second layer of fence, which is not required at all. Well, the subjugation is Islam. They're dubbing it as Sinicization. This portion I am showing of Ningxia, Hui, and Gansu provinces, they're central China. Notice the domes of the mosque. They have been changed to Han-style domes. The normal Islamic style of domes are round shaped. They've been changed now. Most of the mosques in Ningxia Hui, it is the major population of Hui Islamic people, they're all changed. And what the Chinese government is doing is it is going to the houses, getting signs from the individuals saying that we want renovation of the mosque. It has become old now and we need renovation. The moment renovation word comes in, they say, okay, we'll renovate, remove the dome and make it into a Han style. In this particular Wuchung mosque, probably the population did not agree. So the mosque remained for almost a year without any dome. And now finally you see it without the dome. So China has decided that this mosque will remain without any dome at all. This is another case where the dome has been removed, kept down below. You can see it. The golden one is the dome which was there earlier. Now a new dome has come. Let's come on to surveillance. What does China plan? It wants to do surveillance of anything and everything throughout the globe. The entire world they want to have a control over. So I'll be covering it in three space, land and over water, and then underwater. What does China plan for the global surveillance? It has Beidou satellite constellations which are moving. One part is in the GEO, the second part is in the medium Earth orbit, and the third one is lower Earth orbits. All the satellites from GEO will get the data and then feed on to MEO. Wherever they want particular surveillance, they'll go down to lower Earth orbit so that they can have a look from a closer angle. There are trials for satellites going on with arms. They can catch other countries' satellites. But what China claims is it is for removal of the space debris. Space debris in the US is considered a very big problem. But now, with this, China is having military implications for that satellite. Now, how does China keep track of other countries' satellites? They have this kind of satellite tracking stations at 2 places in the world today. Earlier they used to have it in 3, now they have it only in 2. This one is the satellite tracking station in Namibia. And the second one is in Argentina. The dish antennas are almost 35 meters in size. The parabolic antenna can go deeper into space. Almost 30,000 kilometers it can see through. This is Beidou trials in Pakistan. Pakistan is the only country which has established Beidou satellite tracking station. And this is what the satellite imagery shows, the trials going on very near to Karachi. This is the dish antenna and other equipment. China also has these Yuan ships. This one particular is Yuan 7. This is the latest. It has all modern gadgetry to track satellites, missiles also. Missile ranging and instrumentation is the best on this particular ship. And they are moving these kind of ships all over the world. This is at Homeport near Shanghai. This particular one shows the same ship, either Yuan 5 or 6, in Suva, Fiji, southeast of Australia. You can imagine the reach of their ships and their surveillance measures. Inside China, they have something called LPAR, large phase array radars. They can see at a distance of almost 25 to 30,000 kilometers. The exact range is not known. This particular one at Korla is facing India at the moment. It is rotatable. You can rotate it towards Russia also. It also has a number of labs which are tracking satellites. They say that it is only monitoring their own satellites, but obviously they can monitor other satellites also. You can see the dome opening. And these are the directed energy weapons facilities. China has 6 of them in place. This particular one was meant for trials. It started somewhere in 2011. Now they have completely established. This is the place in 4 things, their sliding roofs. The theory is the right ones, 2 of them are meant for tracking, and the left 2 are meant for hitting the satellite. In South China Sea, most of the islands which have been created by China, they have these kind of radars which look through almost up to 1,000 kilometers. This is another satellite tracking station which is on Fiery Cross. This is Crow's Nest radar on Subi Reef. This again can look through beyond 500 kilometers. Well, China also has certain places created. This one in Cambodia at Dara Sakor. This has a resort. China says it is a resort, but most of the satellite imagery experts know that it is not so. This is a facility created for the PLA to come and stay anytime. It has a naval pier very close to it. It also has a runway which is almost 3,200 meters. For one small little resort, it is this building only. So maximum number of guests would be 1,000 in that particular location. For 1,000 people, you don't create a new airport. You don't create a naval pier. This is Hambantota. This is how everywhere China is having their own people who are doing surveillance activities. This one again has Colombo. This is the reclaimed land area. Maldives. Hulumale Airport has this second airstrip which has been expanded by the Chinese. Earlier, the contract was given to India, but something happened, the government changed, the president was arrested, and that is how the contract went to China. And the compensation, Indian company had asked, $875 million has been given. Imagine that kind of money is being exchanged just to have control. This is the Friendship Bridge, what China calls. It is constructed between the capital Male and Hulumale. Earlier they used to move in between through ships only. And this is the Chinese embassy. They again have something like satellite tracking station there. On top you can see the dish antennas. Well, these are the Chinese ships in Karachi. Now they have been given to Pakistan Navy. Most of the Pakistan Navy ships and submarines are all Chinese origin. This is Gwadar port. Again, you know very well that China has taken control of that port. But till now, military presence has not been observed there. Another place is Oman, the Salalah port. It is visited very frequently by the Chinese Navy ships. Here you see one of their oilers. We all know very well about the military base in Djibouti. This particular place has all kinds of radars, it has all kinds of communication, and Djibouti is such a place from where they can monitor the entire traffic on the sea. And they are not bothered while constructing the base. They were doing underwater blasts. They were, mining in that area, doing anything and everything to construct. They're still onto it. There are 5 more piers supposed to come up. This is the underwater blast. And last year, we had seen some lasing incidents. The US Air Force aircrafts had reported it. The pilots faced it. Lasers are being used to track satellites and to hit at aircrafts. So this is a garrison of PLA outside of China in Tajikistan. Well, now let's come on to the underwater part. This is Fiji. China has donated them a hydrographic and oceanographic survey ship. It's one of the latest constructed by China. It's a small one. And recently, there was a training ship called Chi Chi Kuang, which was there in Suva. 8th November, it has moved out. So anything and everything is being used to keep surveillance of all the areas in the world. This one is a hydrographic survey ship. It's one of the largest of China at Colombo. The entire Indian Ocean region is being kept under surveillance. They do survey also. They have been moving around with Pakistan Navy mainly in the Arabian Sea. Well, China has also donated and some sold also submarines to Bangladesh. You can see 2 of them standing there. China has also very close cooperation with Karachi. Here you see a PLA Navy nuclear submarine. Firstly, submarines do not port at any other country than their own. But here you see a nuclear submarine which is being seen on the satellite imagery in Karachi. So you can imagine what kind of closeness they have. It is as if it is another port of China. Karachi has become another port of China. This is another nuclear submarine at a later date. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel, for starting with the kind of religious subjugation that is happening across the territories under the control of China, and also highlighting that after leading a life of subjugation and suppression, people are not even allowed to rest after death. And the wonderful analysis of all the satellite images and the control or the surveillance level of China over space, land, water, and underwater. I must say that it reminded me of my childhood days when I would ask my parents how they escaped and from Tibet, and they told that while they were escaping from the Chinese army, their only worry was the daylight, that they would be, worried that if they are seen, they might be killed, so they would travel in the night. But with this kind of militarization and high-tech technology, I think escaping from Tibet in this day, in the daylight or in the night, is quite impossible. And also that in Sanskrit you have the quote Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family, and the extent of infiltration and surveillance by China looks like the Chinese version of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is world is one big colony and it is ready to colonize. Thank you so much, Colonel. So I think with this expert panel, you will definitely have your questions. I would request you to please introduce yourself and place your questions to any of the particular experts. Over to the audience, please.
Hey, thank you very much. My name is Chen Yan, and I'm a student currently studying in Geneva. I have a question to Dr. Zhang about China's surveillance on in Taiwan. Like, what do you think about how will the 2020 presidential election in Taiwan, the results affect China's infiltration and surveillance strategy in Taiwan? Thank you.
Because China's equipment produce system, they have many cooperation with Taiwan's business. So Taiwan business they became a very important location for China government in Taiwan. So if Taiwan people has not the clear idea, clear mind, Taiwan's Congress won't pass an effective law to protect Taiwan's people's freedom. So I think the most important is not the infrastructure building construction. Most important is the idea, thinking. So for me, these conference topics is very important for Taiwanese people. They know an open society or democratic society. They still need we can call it a defensive democracy system. So that's what I can answer.
Next question. Yes, please.
Edward Chin from 2047 Hong Kong Monitor. Colonel, I want to ask you, not too many of us can have a sophisticated access to technology, satellite technology, but using Google Map, do you think we can, something layman can use, can track something easily? I don't know whether you could access to territories like you mentioned Pakistan and all that, right? And second thing, it has related to the movement in Hong Kong. I realized recently there's a lot of helicopters flying maybe just like 1,000 feet high. What do you think the law enforcement people try to do? Are they trying to look at the movement of the demonstrators, or do they have the capability to have like some sort of a facial recognition or AI already, like from your understanding and your experience? Thank you.
Yeah, Google has most of the imagery, but it is dated. It is not the latest. So latest ones you have to purchase. But from the Google Earth also, you can see most of the things which are normally required. But for such a situation like Hong Kong, you can purchase imagery. You can also, ask the satellites to cover that area at particular times. So if somebody outside China wants to do surveillance of those particular helicopters and all, you can get to know. And I'm sure the US government must be monitoring the situation very well through satellites. But what China is doing through those helicopters has to be just to, it's a kind of a threat to the public down below. Yes, we are watching you. And this is what China wants to do. It wants to always and everywhere, it wants to win wars without fighting. It does not want to do anything just by threatening the people. They will try to control. Like yesterday, you were talking about that particular color which was used in the sprays, the water sprays. It is only to identify those particular people. The moment they have blue color on their clothes, and it was sticky also, so one has to either go and change. And those particular people are identified. If they go anywhere else and create nuisance or whatever, demonstrate or protest, they will be identified. And that is what China wants to do, identify those people. Now, like today morning, you were telling me, the students from outside the universities have come and they're doing protest. Well, that really, you cannot say so. I do not believe it. Who else is going to come there and protest other than the Hong Kongers? Just because they're slightly old does not mean they're outsiders. They're not outsiders. They have not come from outside Hong Kong. They're there. But surveillance only through helicopters is not done. They have smaller drones, handheld drones also, which can be used for surveillance.
May I just ask quickly, what can be sprayed from 1,000 feet high? Fluorescent stuff, what could that be? It's not water cannon from the helicopter. And people find them, they look kind of like a fluorescent color. So what could that be?
Helicopters are spraying?
Yeah.
No, that is just a threat. It is not any chemical weapon being used. No way. I don't believe that. It might be just, people might be feeling scratchy and all because it is some chemical which is being used. But I, as an individual, though I am all for the Hong Kongers, I would not say that it is any chemical weapons being used. I don't think so.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Good morning, and thank you to all the speakers. And my question is to Tenzin Dala, and about the internet users. You said China has the highest quote. Although they have lots of restrictions, surveillances, and so on, how come this not India or USA has the highest quote of internet user? Why not the free world? And who are all these internet users in China? Is it the Chinese government itself, or how come this kind of quote?
Thank you for your question. Before I mentioned that China has one of the most internet users around the world, right? Exactly that. As compared to the Chinese population, China has one of the highest population in the world, right? So on the other side, China censor and they didn't allow international social media platforms inside China. Instead of that, they established homegrown social media and search engines. So there are lots of similarities. For example, if you want to search something in Google, instead of Google, they have Baidu. Instead of WeChat, they have Weibo. So the similarities are there, right? So they can't censor completely the internet shutdowns. So instead of that, they invented a similarity based on their user like. So by establishing this kind of concept, the number of internet users in China has been rapidly raised so far. So that's why it comes that the penetration rate itself is 59% and the user has increased to 840 million internet users in China. For example, also if we rely to Chinese homegrown social media platforms like WeChat, we can clearly see that the registration rate is above more than 1 billion registration rate a day. So the overall user is more than 900 million users. So it comes along most of the South Asia countries that they are using those social media platforms. This is the kind of the things that is happening inside China. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot to say, introduce myself. My name is Norsom. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other question? Okay, this will be the last question before I hand over to the speakers to make their concluding remarks.
Thank you for all of your amazing sharing. And my name is Pik Shan Pan from Hong Kong Media Apple Daily. As China's national intelligence law came into effect in July 2017, it's not only the local Chinese that they have to defend the national security for the country, but those who immigrants to other Western liberal country, they will be considered as a Chinese national first. And then what does the Western liberal world should take notes on this national intelligence law? Do you have any suggestions for that? Thank you.
Sorry, can you please repeat this question?
What should the Western liberal world should take notes on that introduced China National Intelligence Law in 2017, which require every Chinese citizens to be a spy or to collect the sensitive information for the country, so that it's not only controlling the local Chinese to defend their national security, but they will have to obligate to collect the sensitive information overseas in order to protect the Chinese national security. Do you think this is a threat for the Western liberal country? Especially we are experiencing the information war, fake news, disinformation, that the Chinese tend to converge the ideology of press freedom, freedom of expression. And then do you think any sensitive informations that is not favorable for the propaganda of China, that every Chinese citizens have to be collecting information for China, even though they're immigrants to other country? What do you think? What should the Western liberal world should take notes on this?
On the one side, it is quite very sensitive to collect all these kind of data and informations because China itself is working hard to collect all the data. So they are making progress on the collection of the big data stores. For example, Alipay data and this one Tencent data. So local data servers also those companies who want to establish their business inside China as well as in abroad, those who are linked with China, so they compulsory made a law to make an investment of the data inside China, right? So that it shows that China want to legitimate their power and sovereignty of all the people's details information. So they could trace each and details of those in and outflow of information. So it is kind of a very threatening to the citizens. So the best to cope with these things is those who are residing in foreigners and who are having some dual citizens. They should have not involved with submitting all these data. They should be absent from giving the details of themselves for submitting the details of data and all this collection of information. This is just my idea, so I'm not sure about how far it has helped.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience other than questions? Thank you. I'll hand over to the speakers to make their concluding remarks. Jalala, if you have any final comments.
I would like to thank Office of Geneva and their Human Rights Desk for giving us this opportunity and making this conference a successful one. And especially Candela has been working so hard. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalala. Dr. Chen?
China's concept of national security is different from Western world. At the same time, it's different from Taiwan. Especially for Xi Jinping, he expanded the concept national security to so-called total national security idea, include for cultural security, environmental security, social society, many. Almost is connected with national security in China. And China's criminal procedural, they laid China's justice, their policemen, their national security officials, when they to deal with the case about national security, they can exclude the human protection provision in criminal procedural law. So that's why many Taiwanese people was accused in China because we have not the same national security idea as China. So I think many China overseas students, they started abroad in a Western country or university has the responsibility for the people's, for the world's civilization to teach the Chinese overseas student what is the universal value, what is the personal identity, what is the fundamental human right freedom. I think it is very important. And I take an example of Taiwan. When China's students protest against Taiwan and Hong Kong's 反送中 movement, and the Taiwan government spared the Chinese citizen and Chinese student because they against Taiwan's universal value, but not by the law, by the audience for border regulation. But I think the same method is useful for the overseas Chinese, for all the Chinese.
Thank you, Doctor. Colonel, in 1 minute, please.
About 10 years ago, you see, China was trying to tell the entire world that they will not have a foreign base, ever. Today, they have at least 2 bases, and one third one is coming up near Gwadar. Imagine what kind of mindset they have. They have already made up their mind what they want to do by 2050. And they are pursuing those policies. They are going ahead with another trial of underwater Great Wall in South China Sea. Everything that is moving underwater will be monitored. Every little ship that is moving through South China Sea will be monitored. And that is the kind of vision they are having for surveillance of the entire world. They are also going ahead with ASW ships. Construction of ships has become a big industry. Especially for PLA Navy, they are going in for amphibious ships. Now Type 75 is being constructed. The first one has just been launched, and the second one is already in halfway done. The third one has already started. James is saying the third one is almost ready for construction. The CVs are coming, frigates are coming. This is all happening just to keep control of the entire world. They are going ahead in every way. There has to be something done much beyond what is happening now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel. As we wrap up, I just wanted to give some of the major takeaways from this panel. One being that, as I said in the beginning, you are being watched. You are being watched over land, over water, from the sky, and underwater. And I think it is one of the major challenges to the international community to come up against this kind of pervasive surveillance, and also for the international bodies like the UN to ensure that China does not change the meanings, the meanings of human rights and what it stands for. Thank you so much. You have been a wonderful audience.
Thank you, moderator, and our panelists for uncovering the height of China's multifaceted expansionism strategy to further infiltrate the world order. So thank you so much. And as a token of appreciation, may I request Secretary Kamachungla to kindly present event scarf and a small memento to say thank you very much for all your contribution and presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much, and now thank you so much. Now we have a coffee break for 30 minutes, and we'll resume at 11:40.
Rồi đó là biết